Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to bipolar South Carolina. And I've noticed through Facebook today, everybody else is dealing with snow too. So it's kind of interesting. So why do I make a big deal of snow? We have no infrastructure for such things. We've got no plows. We've got no salt or anything like that. So down here, when it snows a bit, which happens every once in a while, everything shuts down, even though we only get a couple of inches, maybe. Looks like Lee said he had like 6.5 inches earlier. And, Mike Berry has snow, and Bruce's bees, and probably Grayson, and, all of these southern beekeepers down here. Tim and Hannah have snow. So I guess I need some Canadian advice about snow and bees now. Because I was just out at my bees on Saturday because, it's kind of, they were talking about it might snow. So I did put on some pollen and a couple tablets and stuff like that. So they do have some feed in there. Now, being colder, they're probably not going to move around too much. But most of my colonies had 1 to 2 frames of brood. So chances of them being able to keep that warm enough are probably not very good. So that will set them back a bit. Now, I don't have that many colonies that actually survived to this point in the winter. So I'm worried if this was the death nail. Does this kill my operation this year? I don't know. We will find out, right? In a day or two. Maybe my poly hives make it and the wooden ones don't. So we'll see. We got Tom popping in. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Bob.
You got some snow up there too, I see.
Yeah, and a lot colder.
Getting a bunch of people popping in. Hey, Nancy. MJ Farmstead.
So did this work seamlessly? Did we all transition?
Looks like everybody moved on in.
I think
Yeah. I was just outside for a minute to see. It's kind of breaking our snow right now, which, for like Nancy, you said you got what, 5.5 inches or 5 inches?
Yeah.
But it's not out of the normal for you guys to get snow. I mean, every year,
Nope.
pretty much like clockwork, right? So
Yeah.
here, we don't get it. Maybe once every, 2 to 5 years, we might get a flurry and a little bit of accumulation, but generally doesn't happen. We don't have salt trucks or plows or any de-icing stuff or anything, right? The state just doesn't invest in that because it doesn't happen enough. But there's still people that try to drive in it and stuff like that aren't used to driving in it, so it makes it a little bit chaotic for them. I don't know. My bees right now are, I've lost a lot of colonies this year so far. So I'm really worried that this might be the death nail,
Yes.
right?
It gets scary.
The final dance.
Scary.
But with that being said, the other day it was 60, and I had a couple 1 to 2 frames of brood on most of my colonies, and so I was like, okay, we're okay. They're gonna hatch out in the next couple weeks, and things will be all right. And then snow. So what do you do?
Hey, Bob, I got a question for you.
Sure.
How close is the food to the brood?
Well, I also have feed on them, right? So
I mean on where the brood is?
yeah, so I was trying to explain this to Brad the other day. So I tried a little bit of an experiment because last year I just did single deeps. The year before I did double deeps. And this year I kind of split half are singles, half are doubles, and they're basically side by side to see which one performed better. Now, obviously my singles are clustered right in one spot, but my doubles, instead of clustering and then moving up, they've clustered, and then about half of them have moved up. So they're really kind of up and down in there. So, I mean, they are close to the feed. In the double deeps, I put everything in the middle in between the clusters. So
it's pretty close.
So yeah, so we'll see. I'm kind of
The reason I asked, Bob, is the bees will stay on the brood. So if the food's not really close to them, they can starve to death in just a few days.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
So it sounds like you got the brood within an inch or 2 inch of them. So
yeah,
they'll be balling around the brood and your food. Sounds like it.
I hope so. We'll see what happens. Again, it's you see it. Mike Berry and everybody has got snow too, right? So what's going on, Charlie?
I was thinking about those guys down there with the snow because I was watching the weather and that strip that's coming across. So Dirt Rooster, Mr. Ed, Mike, Joey. Like, I'm curious to see how they come out of spring with this cold snap. If they come out with lower survival rate, if some of the thinner genetics, not thinner, but less strong genetics aren't going to make it through this snap down there. Like it's nature's way of eliminating some of that,
Yeah, it's going to be
batter. Oh, my English is terrible. I'm talking Dutch here. If what that's going to look like for those guys in spring. I'm really curious to hear that.
Well, it's just, this is just a weird. I mean, me in particular, I can't speak for the other guys because they all seem to have pretty hardy colonies down in the south, right?
Well, yeah.
And here, mine always seem to be light, even compared to like Ian's colonies and stuff like that, where they come into spring and they crack them open. They got a whole box full of bees. Mine never seem to be that hardy. So we'll see. I mean, they were already. I mean, the bees that I've got, I've kept feed on them constantly. So hopefully that's enough for them. But it's just not our typical weather, right? But we get that.
Right.
It may actually end up helping them. And when I say that, it's because now we got a couple of days where they can't get out the fly. They're stuck there. They're clustering. They can't. They're kind of in torpor, not moving, right? So that's actually conserving some feed. Where when it's 29 at night and 60 during the day, every day they're out flying, doing nothing, right? Just flying around. So
and that's why I think the mild winters hurt us up here in the north, the mild winters, because they're like teenage boys. I mean, they're just eating nonstop. So yeah, it's definitely going to weed out the stressed colonies, as Brian was saying. But yeah, they're gonna give them some time to be still, meaning just to go into torpor and just to hang out. And I think the colonies up here anyway, we need that. Like we need some real, 6 to 8 weeks of real cold weather just to get rid of all the other muck that's in the hive.
You look at Tom's colonies in the photo behind him there, it looks like they came out and built igloos, it's kind of like extra insulation there for them. And here it's just weird. It's we have every pest, right? Well, hey, maybe this is good for hive beetles. Maybe this is freezing the crap out of them and killing them right now.
Yeah.
So that could be a good thing.
Small hive beetles.
Yeah, kill a lot of the environments.
So I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see. It's another journey in beekeeping that that if you deal with it every year, you're just used to it and prepared for it, right? And here, sometimes it comes a little bit later. I mean, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, Charlie, that I made those splits like the middle of March, and it snowed like 3 days after I split them, and they all died. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I got to let the original colonies build up a little bit. It got back to 70 on Wednesday. Saturday, the following Saturday, snowed again. So it was like, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I mean, really, if you've ever been down this way, which most of you probably have been down to the southeast, that between the 115 degrees in the summer and, now snow in the winter, it's kind of, the bees just get all off kilter. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting down here for sure. Oh, sorry, I got Big Mike over here too. I didn't see Mike. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
Mike.
was
you got
trying to
what-
click on the comments over here to have them pop up, but it doesn't work anymore.
Oh,
Just kidding.
yeah.
You got a lot more
I was gonna pop one
Italian
a couple
genetics
and
down
bring 'em
south,
up.
too.
What'd you say, Tom?
You got a lot more Italian genetics down south, and they don't handle cold weather as well.
Yeah, I don't, this is going to sound terrible, but none of the genetics seem to do well down here. And I mean, and that's just being honest, right? I try to keep it as honest as possible. I've had Carniolans.
Just a
And
bad.
Well, that's part of it, but with the Carniolans, everybody says, well, they overwinter smaller, right? And I get how that's a benefit up north, that it helps them preserve their feed. But if you got a smaller cluster and they're flying every day down here and they're dying, but they're not brooding up to replace the dying bees, then they just get so small. By the time spring comes around, it's hard for them to rebound. So it's kind of crazy. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I went out there last Saturday, and I checked 2 or 3 hives, and I'm gonna have to. Normally I don't feed through the winter until I check them early March, and I've got sugar bricks I made this afternoon. With a little bit
better
of
to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right?
Well, I bought
Right.
I bought some. I went out there last weekend because I bought 3 a new toy. I bought clear inner covers, 3 of them.
Those domes,
Huh?
those dome things.
No. The flat things like you see.
made out of
What's his
plexi?
name?
Joey Rollins.
Yeah. Huh?
Right.
Joey has them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joey has them.
And the guy down in Memphis, Barry Cooper, I guess it is. Or anyway, I put 3 of them on. I went out there today. It was 15 degrees here at 4:30 or 4 o'clock, and you got insulation on top. Took the inner cover or the telly cover off the insulation, and I had a cluster of bees at the top up there, and they weren't just sitting there still. They're moving all around and everything. And I'm like, boy, that really makes you think what's happening in there, and then you see what's happening. It's pretty cool.
That's 'cause
I thought.
It's 50 degrees right there at that window, but Charlie,
No, 15 degrees. 15.
outside, but not inside.
This is how I check my girls in the winter. I have a little strobe camera.
Yeah.
I got the cheap one.
Yep.
I got the little one, not Vivor, but I got it from like Harbor Freight, right? A little cheap one.
Yeah, it works though.
Thank you, Steve. Brad, I got the 6-man rule in effect right now.
Oh, we want Brad
Oh.
to come in. I'll step out.
Are you going to drop out?
If
No,
we
I'll
can-
go.
drop
I'll go
out,
because
too.
I didn't take a break from mine to this one.
Mike, stay
So-
in. I'm going to drop out.
You sure?
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I got a little. I've been coughing a lot. Well,
There he is.
You're not smoking enough.
Hey, everybody.
that's
Hey,
what
Brad.
they used to say when I was a kid. Smoking was good for you. Clear out your lungs.
There you go.
Got some snow, eh, Bob?
Bob,
Yeah,
I think your bees will do fine.
Well, it's not the snow. I'm not worried about the snow per se.
I think if
right?
you have really small clusters, you might have a problem. But if
well,
you got two
and that's
frames,
the issue, right?
you've got two
That-
frames of
I was going
brood,
to
so
say,
you've
snow
got
ain't
bees
gonna
to
hurt
cover.
bees.
No, it's not the snow in and by itself, right?
Yeah.
So it's the snow with the fact that all winter long they've been flying every day. They haven't been.
That's okay.
They haven't been stuck in there, right? Plus,
That's
you know,
okay.
I talked
Being
to Ian.
stuck in there is good for them.
I talked to Ian a little bit today, and he says, "No, you're going through what we do coming out of spring, right? It's where, yeah, they may or may not have enough food really stored away, and they're flying, and now you got a snowstorm, right? That they're going to be stuck in there. So, you know, again, we're talking 2 inches, right? And, you know, to most men, that's great. No, just kidding. That's a joke. but you look, see, Brad's already shaking his head. Why did I do this?
Here I'm sending Bob videos all day of what I'm going through, and then he gets 10 snowflakes in his yard, and it's a big.
Well,
We got like
Did you see those videos? I said,
yeah, I did. They were pretty
driving down the highway at 65
100
miles an hour.
kilometers an hour, and the snow's just flowing
hardly
across
see a
the
thing.
road.
Yeah.
Did you
pretty-
see Doug's
brutal.
video for that going down that highway? That was, I forget, he said it's a couple feet up on the side of the roads, more than he ever seen.
No, I mean,
It was a pretty brutal day. I'll tell you. I was loading
well,
the
when
truck
it
this morning.
snows in northern Florida,
Yeah.
there's something happening down here.
Yeah.
You
Global
know,
warming.
Well, it was a
That-
minus
that's-
40, minus
Global
40
warming.
wind chill when I was loading the truck, and I could sure tell. I
well,
mean,
it's only 24 here right now, so
it's actually minus 16 here right now, and it
What-
feels warm after what I went through this morning.
let me flip my
was
F
just
to C
brutal.
converter here. Right now, we are -5,
We're at
or -5, or
You know
5
what, Bob?
below
I think
0.
that's about the same. Do the conversion, Charlie. What's that conversion? Minus 16.
let's see,
Celsius?
minus 16 Celsius is 3 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm warmer than Bob.
No. You're a
That's a
little
good
bit.
conversion right there.
Oh, you said you're. Oh, see, you use that negative thing. See, I think.
Yeah, I switched it. I'm -5 C. Minus. I'm
You're
5 below
minus
0.
5. Yes. Okay.
We had
okay.
this whole topic.
Yeah. Minus
that
So,
16.
what are you right now, Brad?
Minus 16
Yeah.
right now.
We're
It was
Pretty
kind
cool.
of, when I was working this morning out there, I could only take it 5 or 10 minutes at a time. It was just brutal. And, at like minus 40 wind chill, it's not even cold. It just hurts, right? You go up there and it's like your fingers and your hands don't get cold. They just hurt really bad. And so that's what you got to get in. Get in
Well-
out of the wind chill.
I guess the major difference, well, there's tons of differences, but one of the differences, yours gets cold in the winter and stays cold all winter.
Right. That's good
Right.
for the bees.
And the bees are just happy-go-lucky, the live ones. And, you bring them in the barn to help facilitate that temperature. And all of the beekeepers down here in the South who, first of all, their bees have never mostly been in snow, right? Like none of the bees that I have outside have ever experienced snow at all because we don't get it that often.
So are they all waiting to go outside and sled or what?
They're all out there making little snow angels right
Little
now
snow angels.
as they die in the front of the hive, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things to where it's at that time of the year right before they start to build up, because there was a couple frames of brood out there, which they won't have enough bees to keep that warm. Right?
That's the problem. Like
if
here,
they have 2 frames, they should have the bees to cover them.
like we're in good shape unless the bees start to brood early, and then when the cold snaps come, if they have a bunch of brood, at best that brood will freeze because they'll cluster and move off of the brood.
At worst, they don't cluster and stay on the brood,
Yeah.
and then they get chilled and die.
Or starve because they're going through a lot more feed when they're brooding. A lot.
So,
Like a lot more.
Yeah.
Does
So-
everybody know MJ Farms here? Well, I got him. I brought him, invited him over. This is
Oh.
Mike from up in New Jersey. He's brand new on the channel,
Hey, Mike.
and Mike subscribed to the Bob there, hopefully.
Yep. I'm
And,
subscribed to him now.
And
we do
Anyway.
this quite often.
Yeah,
Quite
I'm
often.
trying to be here because I'm trying to connect with more beekeepers. You know.
I mean, right now we have 82 people. So if you haven't followed MJ Farmstead, do you put content up?
I do. I have I think I have 4,300 subs now, something like that.
But you got more than I do. But if you
Whoa,
got 4,300, I only
well,
got.
he's doing farming stuff too.
Yeah, I
That's
do
what-
like everything like farming. So I have goats, chickens, honeybees, quail,
Oh,
ducks. Don't get ducks. Learn from my mistakes. Rabbits, market garden and orchard. But honestly, I'm really pushing this next couple of years for the honeybees. My plan is to hopefully have 100 colonies by 2026. That's the goal.
Well,
An expensive goal, but a goal.
that kind of is where I was targeting, but I always go up and then I come back and then I go up and then I come back, and it's just a constant struggle for me.
So I'm going to be rearing queens this year. At least that's the plan. And I think in my head I have a method where I could pump out 120 queens. I don't know if I can get close to that number. I know like 80 is probably a better number, but in my head I have I'm calling it the MJ method. If it
Mated
worked.
queens?
They'd be virgins, but you pop them
Yeah.
into some mating nukes and go from there.
Well, my problem is not the actual making of the virgin queens; it's having the drones and other bees to get them mated and come back. And then we always fight like the birds and the dragonflies and everything else that picks them off out of flight. And
What
So-
Corey's been doing is very interesting because the mating process is actually increases your labor and equipment costs and time, consumes time and whatnot. Producing virgins really is a piece of cake. So
Getting them to
yeah,
mate, come
way
back.
to go. Like
So-
do that. I want to do some more of that too.
I started this year with 3 colonies, and I pushed up to 16, and I think I had like 5 or 6 swarms that I went out and caught like locally, and then a bunch of splits. So I had one hive that had like 6 different frames of drawn out queen cells. They were going to swarm. They swarmed. I caught them, and then I put those cells into 3 different hives. Everyone came back with a new queen and mated queen, and they're super successful. So
Right on. Right
I
on.
got lucky with that one.
So you've already got an established farm. You've got buildings and
Yes.
equipment and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got a leg up. I remember when I started keeping, I ended up talking to Phil, the bee man, one day, and he said, "How many colonies you want to run?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know how many I can handle, but I'll push up to about 100 and I'll see what that's like." And he said, "Yeah, that's a good plan." He said, but the advice he gave me was, he said 100 is a really tough number because you're not making enough money with the bees to buy a lot of equipment, and yet you're having more bees than you can handle without the equipment. So he said that's a really tough place to be. You can, I guess he was kind of saying less than 100 or way more than 100 really is better. So having that established farm with equipment and facilities and stuff, you'll have a better chance.
By established farm, I mean we're first generation farmers, and we've been here for 4 years about. And I've just been anything I've made from the bees for the past 3 years just goes back into the bees.
Yeah.
But this year, my plan is to put hopefully an additional 10 to 12 colonies on. Hopefully not to go too crazy. I'm going to get inspected by our local apiarist with the USDA so I can get certified to sell queens and nukes. And anything that I catch, swarms, once they're laying, I'm going to send them out the door packing and hopefully make a little bit extra scratch that way.
you sound like me when I started.
Sounds good.
But I got a neighboring farm that they're willing to put up some bees for me. I'm going to give them a little kickback of honey, and then we'll go from there.
Right on.
Growing slowly but surely, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Growing slowly. That's a key. So many people when I started, they said, "Well, don't grow too fast."
Yeah.
Because that's That's a big problem. You know,
But some of that is
you
up
big
to you,
jumps.
and some of that is up to your bees.
Yeah,
Because
that's
bees
one.
do
Well,
two
yeah,
things really good.
China, but you know, if you got 10 one year, 50 the next, and 150 the third year, that's too fast,
Hey,
right?
I
'Cause
take
You're just
exception to that.
managing
No, I'm just
10.
kidding.
you end up, you know, you get overwhelmed and you can't quite take care of them, or you make a misstep or something, and it's kind of, you know, bet big, lose big. Is
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is.
So we got very big very quick this year. We came out of last winter with 3 colonies. We had 100% success rate, and then we turned that 3 into 16. 2 of them did wind up going queenless and laying worker, and I just let them go. I used them for sting therapy actually. And then but going from 3 colonies to working 16 colonies in a week,
Yeah.
it was definitely transition for the first couple of weeks. And then I'm like, okay, let me get my head in straight and like find out what I'm looking to do for this one. And I had to make a notepad. I had like colony 1 has a good brood cycle. Colony 16 is like weak on brood. Queen may be missing. Like, so I had to start writing it all down because it just gets jumbled.
Yeah, there's always anomalies. However, I'd encourage you to try, and that's another thing. Actually, I'm thinking back, and that's something that Phil told me. He said, especially when you have an out yard, for example, you have maybe my home yard or maybe one of my out yards. He said, you got to have an out yard. He said, every hive in that out yard is exactly the same.
Yep.
So you don't do 50 different things. You do one thing 50 times.
That's it.
Right.
If
And
one of them's got Varroa, they all have got it. Treat them all.
well, yeah, that kind of thing. And there's always going to be that one that something happened to the queen or whatever, but
Yes.
you endeavor to keep that whole apiary on one keel, because you don't need that kind of variety. That kind of variety just really puts the brakes on your productivity.
Mhm.
If you see how much Ian does his equalization. That's trying to keep that apiary all the same, so that when he sends his crew out and he says, you go to that yard and you put 2 boxes on, right?
He
He
knows
doesn't
those 2
say,
boxes will get
he
filled
doesn't
up.
go down the list. He says, you know, hive 1, you put 2 boxes on, and hive 2, you put 3, and then hive 4, you only put, 0, or, there's none of that, because he knows that apiary is all the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key of managing more and more, is because honestly, I usually have 1 or 2 out yards, and my out yards are pretty well a piece of cake, because I send them out there to do their job and they just do their job. And anybody that needs any attention stays here at my home yard, and it's a nightmare. Because there's, well, this one needs a new queen, and this one's, this one this is this, and this one is that. Somebody needs attention here.
My one friend says the same thing. He manages a bunch of different colonies. I think he's up to 200. And
Yeah.
his like base of locations, he goes, this is where all my problems come.
Yeah. Well, because my home yard is, I can walk back there,
Yep.
right?
Walk
It's
right
easy.
outside and it's there.
Yep. So that's where anybody that's just spot on goes to the out yard.
Yeah.
I don't want any troubles out there.
That's definitely smart.
Well, way to go. Welcome
And then-
to the obsession.
Oh yeah.
Then
Big time.
now, as far as equipment, do you have surplus equipment? Because to me, nothing has been worse than mine. Like you were saying, Brad, when you do something to one, you pretty much do it to all of them. So
Yeah.
if
So
it gets to the point, right, I've had to run to the bee supply store to buy boxes to build, to paint, so I could get the frames put together to put immediately on the colonies, right?
yeah.
It's like, because I'm out of equipment. I don't have
That's
that
the
issue
worst.
anymore, but
That's
I did.
the worst.
So I think right now I have about 8 or 9 new boxes that are just empty, sitting up in storage, all of them framed up, and 15 double deeps or 15 deeps, and another 17 or 19 supers.
So you're going to double this year?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm going to be ordering everything new for 10 new colonies. Like that's my goal, is to put 10 new ones on in my friend's yard, and I'm going to see where it goes. So I'm going to let them build up this year, and hopefully
You have
they
enough drawn comb for all your new brood chambers?
So what I'm gonna be doing is probably splitting out like 4-frame nukes and giving them a blank, letting them start to lay in mid-April in there because I'm gonna try rearing queens like hopefully first week of April. So like second or third week, I should be able to have my nukes made up. By May, I'm gonna jump them over yards and get them into deeps and let them build out. Hopefully, they can get into a double deep this year. They should be able to because last year I don't know. I don't want to work on what happened last year because it could always change. But last year I had one hive put on like 85 pounds of honey, and they swarmed once.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. But,
I always suggest people in my part of the world don't use a lot of mediums, but I know people down south do. So I always suggest that even if you're using all medium honey supers, draw a box of deep comb every year.
Okay.
And because that's your replacement comb for the brood chamber. Putting foundation in brood chamber, I never do that. And that's because I don't have to. I don't run mediums as a rule. Almost all my honey supers are deeps. So I have the comb, so there's no reason for me to do that. So you said, well, they swarmed anyway, and I don't know the situation, but one of the most common situations is a newer beekeeper doesn't have a good complement of drawn comb. And this was me. Spring comes, your overwinter colonies start to build up, they get really strong. You think, well, I'll just put this foundation on, that'll hold them down, and it does not, because foundation is not space. You need to put space on the hive, and comb is space, foundation is not. So that's my helpful tip to try and save you a lot of grief. draw some deep frames every year.
Yeah, I definitely found that problem with so the one that did swarm on me, they got so much honey so quickly, and I had drawn honey supers on top of them. I think I had like 20 frames up there that were either drawn or partially drawn, and they still wound up swarming. And I broke them down too. Like I pulled out their deeps because they had deeps that were filled with honey, and I like extracted 2 of those. They had the space, and I caught them though, and I think I really want to push that genetic line of if they make it through winter, which they should. Everyone seems to be alive and kicking. Whenever I go knocking, they come running out at me. But I'm really going to push that genetic because they put a lot of honey. I think they drew probably another 10 frames that were just foundation that went in there. So they can draw well, they can store well, and they're not too temperamental, but they're workable.
If you got enough nukes boxes, what I found is you manipulate them to where you're condensing them only on 5 frames all the time. And if you keep stacking and stacking, let's say like Brad says about doing deeps, if you got them if they're starting out in a 5-frame deep box, and you can stack, let's say at least 3 boxes high, maybe 4, they'll draw that wax out for you. They do phenomenal. And you just keep pulling that wax and those bees away from them, put another one on, or have that nuke in the location you want that 10 framer to be. And then once they get up, let's say you only do 2, you can let them draw out 10 frames of brood comb or 15 frames. Then you can just rebox them into a 10 frame hive, and you got solid, brood foundation drawn out.
So, MJ, when you knock on your hive, it's just to see if they're alive.
Well, what I've been doing recently, the past like week or so, is I go out and heft them just to make sure that they still have weight on. Otherwise, I'll pop my my quilt box open and I'll put a mason jar feeder on just for a little bit of something.
All right. Well, you said we're knocking on the hives.
Well,
I don't recommend that. I use a stethoscope because I don't want to break the cluster.
Yeah, I get you. No, I usually give them like a heft, like maybe once a month, just to check on how everyone's doing with weight. But I had one hive, I hefted them, and they had bees waiting at the entrance. Either that or the cluster is super, super low, and they came right out at me and lit me up. They were ready for it.
I just leave them alone.
Yeah.
It's good to keep an eye on the stores, though. I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah, like once a month, I like to just give them a little heft just to see if they're doing well.
Yeah.
Because I have one. I had a very late. I had to go into somebody's wall, an extraction, and that was like late July, and they were still struggling. I guess because we were in a dearth at that point, and then we had that crazy drought up here, and they were struggling to really put on any like actual comb and connect their comb onto the frames. So I've been feeding them pretty consistently through the winter. They take about 2 or 3 pounds of syrup, maybe like every month. I've been putting that on just to keep them going. But they're alive and kicking, and they're overwintering in a single deep. So
I think I'm going on 8 gallons right now since the end. Yep. So
I really think you're going to do better, Bob, with your out yards.
I hope so.
I think being not all consolidated in one area, having the bees fight for forage, I think your bees will grow better and do better.
We're gonna see. I haven't even been to the out yard since Thanksgiving, so I got to get out there. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I'll drive out there if the snow is gone. Usually it only lasts around a day around here anyway, but we'll see.
Wouldn't that be nice?
See what it's like.
Yeah, it's getting chilly here too, Brad.
Yikes.
I've been having to work outside in it all day. It's not fun.
Yeah, no, not fun. It's remarkably warmer. I could tell as the day went on, it got remarkably warmer, and it still wasn't very warm. So it just speaks for how friggin' cold it was this morning.
I think we're at about minus 14 C right now.
Oh yeah, well that's
And
close to what I am. So that's chilly.
Didn't get much warmer all day. Got my little ceramic heater to get my fingers thawed out.
Well, my overnight low last night was minus 33.
Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Celsius. Before wind chill.
That's less than
minus 40 wind chill this morning. That was yeah, and that's a bit rude.
Yeah, just a bit.
It's supposed to snow here till 3 in the morning, and then it's not going to get up above. Let me see. I don't know why I just clicked
That's
off.
the kind of morning that makes me think, why didn't I load this truck yesterday? And then I remember because it was colder yesterday.
Yeah.
Wasn't just really cold. It was colder.
You going out for deliveries or to the packer?
Yeah, both. Yeah, I spent my
Both?
day doing my deliveries in Packer and whatnot.
Socializing.
Yeah, right. It's a full day. I was gone out of here for 9 hours today, and I don't stop at all. I had one of my stores that I went to. I grabbed a sandwich on my way out. I paid for it, so it was okay. And that was breakfast about 4 o'clock. So it's nonstop. It's either driving or loading or hauling honey somewhere or whatever. Yeah, not a lot of socializing. It's a little bit today.
So this whole week, the bees aren't going to get back out till Sunday. Maybe it'll get up to 53 in the afternoon Sunday. So the rest of the week is showing in the 40s.
That's some nice weather.
And then guess what?
Back
Next
down.
Wednesday, it'll be 61 out.
Oh, I wish.
So we'll just got to make it that far. That's what I keep telling myself. Just got to make it another week, and eventually it'll be go time. Jeremy says 29 in West Texas.
Yeah, Texas is getting pretty frozen up.
Yeah, Mike Berry got a fair amount of snow.
Yeah, Mike got it. I mean, all those guys down there got it. Got a lot of snow today. So it'll be interesting. Even northern Florida got it. So I guess as far as that, I wonder what that is going to do as far as like early build up for them, right? in Florida, which may not be that important to anybody other than the fact that that's where all the packages and early nukes come from, right? Florida, Georgia. And now we've got...
I'm curious about something. We got 96 watching and 10 likes. You guys don't want to be here or what?
It's always
Come on.
story.
It doesn't cost you anything. Show some love.
It's free. Double tap that screen, guys. It's free.
Sometimes it just doesn't refresh from when you join in too.
Yeah.
Let me see.
It's showing 18 on mine for the likes.
I'm showing 37 now.
Showed 8 on mine when I just went and liked it.
And let's see.
But we do appreciate it for sure.
Oh, showing 42 now.
But yeah, it's just another one of those headaches, right? It's like, whew, already have enough problems. Now throw snow in the mix down in the south. And you know, things that we don't typically do, I don't typically do, right? I don't run a quilt box. I don't do all that stuff. And now all of a sudden, boom, snow. And it's like,
Yeah, but you don't need it for just a few days.
Yeah.
Brad's doing it because he's got several months.
yeah.
You know, you're not going to get enough humidity dripping on the colony in 3 or 4 days to kill them, and you don't have the cold temperatures that the condens. You know, like my hives up north with that rapid round system, I forgot to put one of the bubble wraps on top, and when I opened it in the spring, that rapid round was filled to the top with water because it had condensated so much in there.
That's what happens with that. If you've ever seen that plastic feeder lid that I have with the big top lid on it, I can put in straight syrup in there and come back in 3 weeks, and that thing it'll be like water, just water where it's condensated back on the inside to the inside of it. Which then you got to be really careful taking it off, because if not, you pour 2 gallons of water straight down in your colony. Ask me how I know. I figured that one out the hard way.
That's the best learning, though.
Yeah, I think I've learned just about every lesson I can learn at this point the hard way.
That's
Even when someone tells you, hey, that stove's not hot. It'll be fine. It's not. Let me see. We got any comments? Just regular chat in the side there. So I'd like to say what everybody's doing with their bees, but probably everybody's doing nothing with their bees.
I'm leaving them alone. That's what I'm doing.
You know, it's funny because it can be a beautiful day out and I get nobody coming to get honey.
Oh, yeah.
Snowing when everybody's supposed to be at home here.
Everyone's trying to get some.
Someone stops to get honey, right? It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, snow, bread, and milk.
And now it's
And honey.
and honey now.
And honey.
I mean, I didn't sell a bunch. I sold 3 pounds, but
I sold, I think, let's see, one guy can go 6, 7, 8. I don't know, about 10 pounds today.
Keith, I just put patties on Saturday, and not the ones I made. I should have put the ones I made on instead of the Ultra Bee ones, but I already had the Ultra Bee box open, so I used those. The ones I made, I know has a really high sugar content in it, so I should have put those on. But at least I got some Ultra Bee out there.
I made up 2 sheet cake pans full of sugar cakes with some pollen powder in it today. Getting ready for Sunday. They're supposed to be about 45 degrees. We'll put them on. And I checked the bees I checked it, 3 hives last Saturday, and they're burning through that sugar water that I put on there a lot faster than I thought.
Has any of you guys ever used Mega Bee? And I say that because I've only used Ultra Bee since I started beekeeping. And this year I bought a bag of Mega Bee because everybody's like, oh, it's good stuff. So I bought a bag of Mega Bee, and with the Ultra Bee, if you put it out in the feeder, they seem to go after it pretty good. But I haven't had that in the open feeder with the Mega Bee as much. So
They didn't go after it, or you never put it in?
no, they never really went after it. I just took an old kitty, those plastic kitty litter pails. I took one of those and washed it out, and once it dried, I don't know if it's ingenious or not, but I put it in the pail, threw the pail on the side, and flipped the little flap down as like a landing way for them so they could just get whatever they wanted out of it. And evidently they didn't want any. So, which is unusual because when there is nothing in nature, they would usually just hit the Ultra Bee.
Right.
And that didn't seem to be the case with the Mega Bee. So I don't know if there's something different about it or not. I was just curious if anybody had experience with it. Using that much, you must be getting a fair amount of brood, Doug asked Charlie.
I don't know what it is. I mean, what happened was last weekend I bought 3 of these clear plexiglass inner covers, and I wanted to put them on. It was 40 some degrees last Saturday, I think. And I put them on 3 hives, and I did find one hive. I pulled out like a center frame of was a deep. It was empty. They had a little bit of honey in the corners. And so I found some fully capped sugar water honey off to the left next to the outer walls. And so I brought them in closer to where the brood area was so they would, be able to get in contact with it on this one hive. So I got to thinking about it today, and it was 15 degrees Fahrenheit around, 4 o'clock this afternoon. I said, I'm going to go up there and just open that one hive up and see if they're up top underneath the glass. And I opened them up, and I've got 1.5 inch styrofoam insulation board on top of that. And here they are. They had a cluster about 1 foot in diameter or more up in the center towards the front of the hive, and they weren't just sitting there like, normally cold and like they're dead looking. They're moving around and crawling all over the place. I'm like, I never thought of that. I wouldn't, I was like concerned because of all this cold, but they act like they're no problem at all with this cold.
I'll tell you, when I went in mine on Saturday, they were not happy to see me. I thought they would be. Bringing a feed and all, they were not happy.
Well, that was one thing I liked. I've seen Brian C down there at Memphis, I guess it was, and he had them ones on his hives down there. They were insulated hives, and I said, "Boy, you can look at them without getting in them, for a minute or so or less." And I did that today, and I mean, the darn ratchet strap was frozen. I had to get it to unrelease the darn strap. That's how cold it is.
Have you had them blow off your tops? I mean, I see a lot of people use ratchet straps, and we had this conversation.
I over the years, I've had bricks on top of my telly covers, and you get a good windstorm, and it'll blow the darn telly cover right off. Yep. And then one time I had it was summertime. I had my nuke skyscrapers, as I call them, like at least 2 or 3 boxes tall. And luckily I have a rack that only holds 4 at a time. And then there's a space, and then there's another rack. And it was like the domino effect. The storm didn't come behind the barn where it would be protecting. It went the opposite direction, and it went bang, 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 bang. And 4 hives all hit the next, hit the next, hit the next. And you talk about some pissed off bees. They were mean and mad. I went up there and I got the base, let's say 1 or 2 boxes on. I had to walk away because they were all over me. I thought I had Africanized bees, and I'm blowing smoke in the air, and they're calming down. It took me 20 minutes or so to get them hives put back together. After that, it's ratchet straps for everybody.
I've been fortunate because I don't typically strap them, and we've had hurricanes and everything else. I haven't had any lids blow off yet.
No.
But I get a lot of propolis too. So could be the super glue they're using from the pine trees, the pine sap, right? Just gluing them down.
Yeah, I use
Yeah.
rabbit stuff for mine.
Jeremy out there in Texas, yeah, he's talking about how bad Jeremy's got some mean ass bees out there in Texas. I have to say that much.
So the
They're
raptor
mean.
straps could be good and bad.
My bees are like, hold my
Now
beer.
he's got them Africanized bees out there in Texas.
Yeah.
That's what he's got at. I mean, they are all over him. I mean, terrible. Terrible. Now, Philip, he's in Texas also, and he must have a nicer strain of bees. They're not as bad from what I can see.
Mine are bipolar. Some days you go in, they're fine. Or it's like Russian roulette. Oh, this hive's great. I don't need anything. Don't need anything. Oh, shit. You know,
Boom.
it's like, what happened? It's just, they go crazy.
I had one hive they were really, really nice until they weren't.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm just working them in a veil. I don't like getting stung in the face too much. Body, I don't care. Working this hive, they're great. They've been great all year, putting up a lot of wax, putting up a lot of honey. And one day, they just decided to light me up like 6 times.
I was wearing thick cotton jogging pants. I feel like, oh, that, like hoodie material, right? It's like, oh, I'll be fine. Shit. That's nothing. That's nothing for them. It does not stop them.
Nope.
Do you have skunks by any chance?
I've never seen one near me. I have seen foxes and possums and
Because skunks
coyotes.
can make your hives act really bad.
Yeah, the skunks will come up and they'll tap on the front of the hives, and then as the bees start coming out, they start.
And they do it all night long.
All night.
So when you come out in the morning,
They're
they've been
tired.
already pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, bees are tired.
Yeah.
Tell you
get
what.
no sleep.
And is it only mine? Mine love the armpit area and they love the testicle area. It's like they come out and just zap. It's like, I don't understand why.
It's that cream you've been using.
It must be. I don't know.
It's probably got an air in it or something. Bees like
No.
hairy legs, I guess.
I haven't taken up jogging. I've barely taken up walking at this point in my life. It's just interesting. It's like that. They just magically pop out and right to my crotch area and armpits. I'm like, are you guys kidding me right now?
They're just gay bees.
Gay bees. Well, they are all females, so I mean,
Yeah, well,
It's
Have
the
been known
axe
to
spray. You know what that does. to
attract the
them.
ladies every now and again.
That's right.
But we'll see. I mean, my bees are just like I said, sometimes they're nice. And, I started buying, when I first started, I bought my first colonies off of Sam down the road, who swears he's got the nicest bees. Yeah. And a 5-frame nuke. Great bees, Sam. Double deep. Haters. They got the haterade all in them at that point. It's really, and it's like the bigger they get, the more attitude.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because there's more older bees that are there to deal with. That's probably what it is. But or it could be that I just had so many colonies.
I got a gal up here in one of my clubs that the bees start getting pissy. She blows smoke at them with vaporizer and knocks the mites back, and then they're happier. They're not as aggressive.
Really?
Whether the mites make them aggressive, I'm not sure.
They
I'm
say
wondering
mean
if-
bees put on the most honey.
Huh?
They say that the mean bees put on the most honey.
But that's
Yeah,
because you don't mess with them. If it's like me, it's like I've got colonies that I know that every time you open them up, they're just going to tear you up. So I open them and put another box on them and leave them closed, right? So they can do whatever they want until I pull the honey. And then it's like Beemageddon. They don't care for it.
Do you guys use any products like Honey Robber or Honey Bandit or anything?
I actually make one that I
Do you?
use. Yeah. I've got, you can see that's a swarm lure there.
Okay.
And I make another product that I use called Honey Rustler.
I've got a swarm
Oh, you
board
make
right
some,
here.
you make something for fume boards, Bob?
Yeah, it's
I
called
didn't
honey
know
ripple.
that.
Yep,
See
and
my,
it's cheaper than the alternative. Queens and alcohol.
yep, and then I use lemongrass oil as well. And I
That's
even have
old
fresh
faith.
lemongrass that I'll pinch some in the spring and I'll drop that in there and I'll see how that works.
It's all that smoke you're using, Bob. The lack of smoke that I use.
Smoke.
What is smoke?
So do you still have the hive you had? What was it, last summer? It was just mean.
No, I've got about 5 of those now.
Oh, because you split it.
Well, what I did is I split that queen out into a nuke and then just left them alone. I purposefully wanted this hive just to die out, right? And I did split its bees, but I gave them all new queens. Not my queens. Queens from ordered in, right?
So they killed all them and then raised their own.
Yeah, but didn't matter. It don't matter. Don't matter what I put in there. I mean, I could put gay queens from wherever, and it wouldn't matter. You know, they could just be happy old bees. And if they were in somebody else's yard, they'd probably be fine. I mean, I've got some bees that, like when James was here, when James came down, he was just standing in the middle of the yard and got zapped on his nose, and then like 2 or 3 times, and we weren't even close to the colonies. I mean, we were probably 30 yards away from him, and he got stung. So, and it never fails. The middle of the winter, Saturday, I haven't been in my bees in a month. I open up my colonies. Somebody's got to pull in the yard to get honey because they see me in the yard, right? And I've got a hive open. I'm like, well, you're going to have to wait a minute. And luckily, none of my customers have been stung. But, you come into the beehive, you got to expect bees, right? So I don't worry about it too much. But the mean bees don't bother me that much, other than I haven't found. The only way I can get around getting stung, and I can't 100% get around getting stung still, is full suit with the feet straps inside my boots and the boots, or strapped up with the straps going around the bottom of my boots, right? And they still will sting my socks. Like they'll get in that crease around the boots and get down in there and sting your legs. Or somehow you can be fully zipped up and they still somehow can get on you and crawl underneath the elastic and get all the way up into your veil. One or 2 bees. It's like, what the hell are y'all doing? Matter of fact, it was so bad this last weekend that I walked way away from the colonies. I stomped to knock all the bees off me. I come into my office. I still have 3 bees flying around, and they go to the lights typically, right? They'll go to the light, and one of them still came and landed on in my ear, and I had to squish it and drag it out before it stung me. It's like, what are you guys doing? Nancy, feel blessed. And I wonder if part of it has to do with the fact that there's nothing for them to forage, right? Like when it's a dearth or something.
Oh, yeah.
If you take something like Brad's yard there, and when spring hits, they start building up, and immediately they go to forage, right? And then honey, and then in the barn, right? They always have something they're doing. Where here, they may have a flow, and then next week, they don't have a flow anymore. And, now they're in protection mode to stop from getting robbed out. I don't know.
And you have had a lot of hives at your house.
I did, yeah.
So everybody's defensive.
Yeah. It was
like I said, I think if you manage and even get a 3rd yard and just split them up kind of evenly.
Well, I was really surprised. If you have a local community group, and I live in a more rural set, right? Not as not way far away from the city, but out in the outskirts near the country. And when I posted up in there, would anybody be willing to sponsor some beehives? I had at least 35 people that came back. Yeah, you can put hives out here. The difference is then you're starting to look at time, right? Time management to go out to the out yard and come back. And if you have multiple, now you're going, all over the place. So it's, I just decided this year I was going to, after the flow, I split out that out yard. We'll see if they make it till next year. And then I'll split those bees and bring those splits back here. I'll split these bees and take these splits out there, right? So they can't fly back and forth. And hopefully that helps get me back up and going a little bit.
I think my farthest is about 14 miles, but I drive by 4 other apiaries to get to that one.
Right. So when you get to the last one.
So I usually go to the last one and work my way back. And I keep them small enough so I can, because I work full time, that I can do 1 to 2 apiaries a night.
Right.
If I need to go through them.
And that gives you a rotation of 1 week, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's kind of what I'm looking to try to do this year. I've only got 10 out there. At least last time I checked, there was 10 out there. And, I think 10 to 15 is kind of where I'm going to sit per yard now, because having 70 here, that was insane. I mean, you just walk. My wife couldn't walk out on the back porch on this corner of the house without saying, "You got bees over here." Yeah, I know. They're everywhere. So literally everywhere. Your garden hose, you turn your garden hose on and it's got a dribble of water, bees everywhere, right? To get the water. It just is what it is. But
I've got like 6 different bird baths set up for the bees around the yard for water.
I actually had a kiddie pool that I used for my ducks, like you were saying.
Yep, I've got 2 kiddie pools also, and then I have a pond all the way across the yard.
And so when my ducks were killed by the coyotes and the chickens, well, then it became a big bee waterer, just a full. Well, we don't usually fill it all the way up. The rain keeps it about halfway.
Yeah,
and we put sticks and pine straw and stuff in there they can land on.
Nice.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Todd.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hello.
You get done eating?
Yep. Got everything done. So, I'm full. Now I need a nap.
I need one too. I sleep terribly at night, and then during the day, sucking all day long.
No.
Yep.
You just have to get that schedule change back.
More bee streams. That's what I need. More late night bee streams.
Oh.
Make me sleep all day.
No. You gotta go away from the dark side. Just stay in the light. Don't sleep during the day. Sleep at night. That's
What
kind of our plan too.
I'm looking at Gary Stewart's post here. He says he adds a little sea salt to the water. What I've done in the past is I've actually just went to Tractor Supply and bought a mineral block that people use for deer and set it on a cinder block. And then when it rains, it gets wet, and then the bees come and. Oh.
That's smart. Keep them a little bit more hydrated. Does the sodium help?
They seem to like it. I mean,
I've heard
the
it
neighbor's got a big swimming pool, so I got a big waterer down the road. I asked him one day, I was like, "Do you see bees down here at your pool?" He's like, "All the time. They're everywhere." I'm like, "Well, I appreciate it. Thank you."
My neighbor was putting their pool cover on, and I hear him, "Oh, damn it. Oh. I look over, I'm like, my bee's giving you a problem? He goes, "Just a few of them."
It's I chant any of you guys that come down this way. I challenge you to swing in during the season and bring your suit, not your jacket, not your vest, not just the veil. Bring your suit. And
I work him with just a jacket. If I have to work a mean
Oh,
colony,
not
just
that. You won't
jacket
be-
and gloves.
you won't work bees long down here. My bees will sting through denim.
I don't see. I think I would, because I've taken my my knowledge of stinging insects and sort of like made it like a little side venture with it, doing wasp removals in the summer. And those things are spicy. And I just work them with the jacket and some camo pants. And I don't know. I'll take stings.
That might be the way to go. The like old camouflage pants that are like baggier.
No,
That
Yeah,
might-
they won't
they're
sting
like
the tree.
The canvas OCPs.
Okay.
So they're solid. They're military grade pants.
Because I know my blue jeans, man, not a problem. You wouldn't
Yeah,
think.
they'll rip right
Bob,
through you.
just wear red pants. They can't see red.
That's, I wear a red thong and I'll be perfect in my yard.
Bob, what you're trying to say is no one come to my house and work bees with me because you're gonna get it.
Look at all the. That's it. I mean,
So
I got some spicy meatballs for sure.
Remember
I'm
last
not
summer,
sure
Bob?
if you guys have heard this or if it's just an old wives' tale, but I've heard that the bees will recognize their beekeeper, and when someone else goes to work that colony, they let them.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
That
it's
is a wives'
true,
tale.
but a bee lives 6 weeks. So can a thing that lives 6 weeks get to know you that well?
They play the game of telephone. They just talk to each other.
Honestly, I think it's the other way around. I think it's the beekeeper learns the bees.
Maybe.
I think the beekeeper learns how to not to get stung rather than the bees
I just got a bunch of
learning
haters.
anything.
I'm thinking, Brad, your whole theory on ditching the gloves makes you a better beekeeper because you feel the hive.
I hear that from a lot of people saying that they don't like working around beekeepers that are wearing gloves, like people who don't wear gloves, because they say somebody wearing gloves starts working the bees next to them, then everybody's getting stung.
It's because they'll crush them. Not
Yeah,
on purpose.
Or
but
their gloves
it's-
have been stung enough.
It's easy
So-
to just not. I know if I need to really hustle, then I'm going to put the gloves on.
That's what I do.
But normally I don't wear gloves. Most of the time I don't know where my gloves are.
I
I'll just
I
leave
like
them
these
off.
gloves.
Yeah, you got to go slower. You definitely got to go slower.
I like these gloves. They're not thick. I got a bajillion pairs of them, but let me. What I do like about these is they're multi. Yeah, these are the right size. I need a new pair anyway, so there you go. They got that rubber, the rubber on 'em.
that grippy.
Yeah, so the good thing is I can wear these not only to work my bees, but I can work them when I'm harvesting honey. I can use them when I'm harvesting my honey. And if I knew my right from left, I would know that this goes on this arm. Only thing I really don't like about them is they don't like my forearms that much, but they're that tacky rubber. And the bees can't sting through this, but there's still enough feel in it to where I can, work them.
Point is made that the gloves keep your hands clean too, and that's for sure. My hands are quite often all gummed up and propolis and stuff by the end of the day.
And you can wash these because they're rubber. You just put some water on them and cleans them right off. So they're pretty good for that. And they're cheap, so I don't have to worry if they get destroyed. I just grab another pair. So, but
Agree with Keith there. He says I can feel everything going on. It's absolutely true. When I open a hive, when I don't have my gloves on, then I can feel if there's heat coming out of the hive. I can feel that. I can feel the bees fanning too. I can feel the breeze on my hands, and it just gives you an extra sense to connect with that hive and to draw patterns through the apiary of what's going on in the hives. It's really quite remarkable.
I love it when this type of stuff happens. My inspector wears neoprene gloves and says he's never gotten stung. 5 minutes into the inspection, I hear, ouch. Good night,
and I didn't set out to say, oh, I'm gonna not wear gloves. There's something wrong with wearing gloves. I'm not gonna wear gloves. The reason I migrated to no gloves was when I started marking queens. I'd have my gloves on, and then, I better take my gloves off. And unlike Charlie, I don't handle queens with gloves on. And so I'd have to take my gloves off, and then I'd be done marking the queen, and then I had to put my gloves back on, and then take the gloves off again. And so I got tired of doing that, so I just left the gloves off, and I realized I don't really need the gloves. So that was
Oddly
really nice.
enough, when I started beekeeping, I was just the opposite of that I am now. When I started, I didn't wear gloves. I didn't wear a jacket. I didn't even normally wear a veil. And if I did, it was just a veil, right? Barnyard bee style, right? Just no problem. And then I found spicy bees, or they found me. And it didn't take me long to realize that, yeah, about 5 minutes into it, it's like, yeah, let me go put this on,
I've yelled at Charlie's videos more than once. Take the damn gloves off. He's fussing with a queen with his gloves on. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
I'm getting better at it when it comes to queens. I'm gonna get back. I mean, this year I'm back into queens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing that this year as well, grafting some queens. The one-handed queen catcher though, I gave that up like year one. It's like, oh, this is pretty easy until you chop off the head of a queen, and now it became the one-handed queen guillotine. And
careful. You're not careful.
What's your guys' preferred method of marking?
It's the carpenter blaming the tools.
Hand it to my friend Gina. She's got little fingers.
can't see anything else.
What'd you say, MJ?
I said, what's your guys' preferred method of marking the girls?
Grab her and daughter.
Pick her up and
right by the thorax.
Now, last year was the first year I was actually doing that. That was my little thing to learn last summer, is to mark queens without my one-handed queen catcher. So I watched.
You had
Michael
a lot
Palmer's
of opportunities
video
last year.
I did. I watched Michael Palmer's video. I watched Bob Benny's video. Showed Selena watching the marking the queen.
Selena was the one that got your attention now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she did a good job marking the queen, but what was really impressive was she picks this queen up with one hand, and then she gets the pen out of her pocket with the other hand, pulls the top off the pen, marks the queen, puts the top back on the pen, back in her pocket, all the while holding the queen in the other hand. That was the cool part.
That's impressive.
I mean, she did a good job of marking that queen, but that pen action, that was something else.
So I marked my queens the first 2 years. This year, I'm like, I'm done. I'm playing the game of finding them now, and honestly, I'm really, really good at it. Usually, I know where they're going to be at.
I used to play that game too.
Me too, and it was a Canadian beekeeper that said, "Hey, Bob, you're having problems. How old are your queens?" I'm like,
exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I know the majority of my girls are either a year. I think I have, out of the 14 colonies that are there, 6 of them are this year's queens. So I could at least go back and mark them.
Do you know that for sure?
Huh? Yeah, because they were either broken off with queen cells, and they made it back, or I split them myself.
Okay, so let's say in the spring, just play the game with me for a second.
Yep.
In the spring, you say, okay, I know this queen was made last year, but they've killed her and superseded her.
Oh, yeah, then I'm screwed, right?
Yep.
At least I'll only be a year off then.
Only.
on 6 of them. No, but I think going forward, I think I should mark them just so I know the years. And it's just, but they say, I don't know, on paper, 3 to 5 years, right?
Yeah, they're wrong.
I know.
Not 5. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
3 tops.
2.
Two. I learned that the hard way this spring.
Yeah.
2 years out of here.
Yeah.
I put new ones in this spring. They're going to go through the honey season this coming year or this year, and I'm replacing them this year.
Nice.
This I did this last year.
I do not touch a virgin. No way.
I marked mine.
Well, I mean, when you're taking them out of the incubator, and you got her right there coming out of the cell, she's in the cage. You just let her out on your desk right here and grab her up and go doot doot and put her back in.
They
honestly,
just wander around. They're awesome.
When they just hatch, they're super easy to work with.
Yeah, they just walk around.
I agree.
What about getting mated? Is there any?
That's where my issue is, because it seems like my mating success is lower when I do that.
Okay.
Now maybe it's just around here. I don't know.
Some people
it
say
might
if you
be.
get a little bit of paint on their wings, it'll mess up their flight and they don't fly as well.
I'll bet it
Make
would.
them more susceptible to getting picked up, but I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many.
I have
things
more
that-
problem getting them a little bit on the back of their eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
I got a buddy, not too far away who raises a lot of queens, and he does that. And I asked him when I started doing it, I said, hey, people say maybe it lowers the mating success. And he said he's never seen any difference, not in his operation. So but there might be differences in different locations.
different areas. Yeah. Who knows?
Shouldn't wear a
I will have to
green
agree
shirt.
with Bob.
Maybe,
there.
maybe the drains or the drones get pickier. If it's a one-off, they want to make sure they don't hit
Maybe I
somebody.
need to start marking them with one of those silver pins, right? That gives it a little shine, make her a little
Your-
extra special for the
Your
drone.
drones aren't a fan of a lot of makeup on the ladies.
Right.
They like them
natural.
all natural.
California, they really
Natural.
don't know if it's a girl or a boy queen.
Yeah, you never know.
Hey,
It
right?
might be a boy that identifies as a girl queen.
Not
Yeah.
get too deep in those weeds.
might be a trans queen.
I just lost 50 people on my subs.
Yeah, demonetized.
Demonetized. Sorry. Just a joke. Just a joke.
You just never know.
I love everybody the same.
Very little. Just this much.
You guys are gonna get me canceled. Oh Lord. Look at DC. DC's throwing up the emoji with the fingers on his hand. Yeah, I mean, that was the toughest thing for me when I started. And I'm not the most experienced grafter. I'll say that, right? I just took a few classes online over the phone. It's just about, like Nancy said, you just got to do it. Just try it. It's not as hard as you think it is, right? And that's the beauty. And we talked about, like, if you're a queen business model, you do the math. Well, let's not do math tonight. My brain's hurting already. But so you can buy like a cell for like $5 to $10, depending where you're at, right? Then you can sell a virgin queen, which is what? It's a queen cell that's just hatched. That's it. There's no difference, really, right? Not much difference, but you double your money, $20, right? Then if you have the infrastructure to set up mating nukes and everything for them to fly out and come back, well, now you'll get 40. But every time at every level, your percentage of return is different, right? So you might get 40 cells, but maybe only 35 of them actually hatch. And then if you put 35 into mating nukes, maybe only 25, 28, something like that. Maybe that return, you don't know. So
Yeah, that's right.
But so you're basically, for a lower price, you're passing that gamble on to the person buying it. Oh, I just want to sell. Great.
But
It's $10.
Up until the mating nuke part, like it's easy, right? Because really, how long does it take you to graft a frame of larva? 10 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
not long.
If somehow I could graft all day, I could graft 5,000 larvae in a day, right? But it's down the line. How are you gonna manage those?
Tell you what, it's a good
builder
feeling
strength,
though.
right?
When you graft that virgin and she hatches out in her roller cage and you let her walk onto your hand for that first time, it's like, man, that's pretty amazing.
When
I
I
did
see
this.
those eggs in my mating nuke, boy,
So
that just warms my heart.
if you had the supplies for 5,000 grafts in a day, right? And you figure 70% of them you get left with 3,500.
Okay.
And if you had the supplies to mate all of them and you had an 80% success rate on the mating, that's $112,000 in a day. If you were able to sell them all.
But then you got to factor in the shipping, right? So you got to ship them, and then how many get killed in shipping that you have to replace?
with the mating nukes.
Yeah, you gotta put them somewhere when they come back.
And more than all of that, you've got to have the bulk bees to go in there and take care of her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
Probably another $20,000 worth of bees.
Oh man. But
I'm pretty
that
sure
was
if
some
you're
good for
figuring
one
that
day.
out,
That's
if
your
you're
whole year in
figuring
one
that
day.
out, you get the addiction.
Well, you stretch that out, right?
Yeah.
To
Well,
me,
when
it
I get that,
kind of your builder capacity, because you have to have enough bees and brood in your apiary
Yes.
for your builder, right? So your cell starter, that kind of sets a pace, in my opinion, because a cell finisher, you can finish cells in almost any colony, just above a queen excluder, just some nice strong colony, you're good.
Mhm.
And mating nukes, that kind of sets the pace too, because how many mating nukes do you have, and how many can you afford, and all of the things around that. But your cell starter, that just kind of sets the pace for how many you can really graft in a day, because
I was really happy, and I don't know how many people do this, but I was really happy when I set my cell starter was that Lyson colony, right? Just a single deep Lyson colony. And boy, did they ever just actually, I think I did it in a double 6 is what I did, I think. And the boy, they would build comb in there so fast. I'd put a couple blanks, couple feed, pollen, and my frames of cells, and boy, would they ever,
that's those young bees. They're good
they
at
would,
making wax.
boy, they were going crazy.
When you guys make your cell builders, do you prefer a nucleus or a deep box?
I do
A
deep.
nucleus or a deep box.
Yeah, a lot of people use deeps, right? Because you can put more bees in them,
I
but
know.
it's all
Our
based
dogs.
on what you have as resources, right? Bob Benny would say 100 out of 100 times you'd probably say, "Oh, use a double deep," right? Well, maybe you got 5 colonies, so you can't take double deep worth of bees and make a starter finisher out of it. You might have to scale down and not make as many cells, because the bees are only going to be able to generate those cups if they've got enough bee power, right? So that was one of the things when James, right? James said, if you think you got enough bees in there, shake 3 more frames, right? You don't have enough. So
I found that when I used 6s, they worked really well. But what I found when I used 6s is, I've got my graft frame, and then I've got a frame of pollen, and maybe 2 frames of pollen. That's half my frames. That's half my space in my 6 framer. So I just found myself wanting to get more sealed brood into that box, right? And that's kind of why recently I went to a 10 frame box, just so I could get more brood in it. But then of course now you've got more space, and you need more bees to make them feel congested.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
Bob, you could use a double 6 frame though, right?
you could use a double 6. Yeah. But then that's even more frames. So again, you've got that much more space to make them feel congested, get a lot of bees in there to make them feel
or are
crowded.
you going to do like I watched that clip that I finally found from up there in British Columbia where the guy is doing a double. It's a queen right cell finisher, I guess you would call it. Cell starter, cell finisher.
that's what I
And
did.
he put in the grafting frame, 2 frames of pollen, and he had a feeder in there. And there was no other frames in the whole box. He shook off, I think, 2 or 3 more frames of bees in that bottom box. Put a double screen board on, put the queen and the rest of her brood upstairs. A lot of those bees within 24 hours came down back into the bottom of the original hive box area. And that was one of the things I always try to say, well, why don't you put all them frames in there? And like Doug said, if you only got those 3 frames, they have to go to those 3 frames, and you're kind of making them focus on their grafting frame.
And that's what I did last year. I usually follow what Bob Benny does. I've tried the smaller boxes. I've tried just a single box. Yeah, they work, but when you have that Queen Right self finisher, I don't know, and all that power inside that box. And last year I took a couple frames out for that reason, and it worked out great. I had 48 beautiful cells.
I had watched this video a year ago or more, and it's up in Seashell, British Columbia. And anyway, I kept, there was questions I had, and we were watching it, and I was asking about, why only 3 frames in that bottom box, and he said you're making the bees only go to them frames.
It forces them,
not spreading the bees out. You're condensing them. So it's a manipulation technique. And then once he said that, and then I kept watching the video about 3 more times, I'm like, okay, I get it now. What's happening? And then what I liked about it was I always used to do a nuke, which was queenless, and trying to keep it populated and all that. And I find, where you have a queen right cell finisher starter, where your queen's out all the time, and you can revert that hive back around to where they're not going to get demoralized, I'll say, after a while, because you keep pulling them cells away because they already have a queen. Oh, we got a queen. We're good, type of thing. So I'm going to try that this year. I've got the double screens and stuff.
The thing I like about it, grafting, or one of the things, there's many things, but one of the things that I like is when you graft one frame and take those cells and move them to the incubator, you can immediately regraft that frame and put it right back in the
cell builder.
In the cell builder, right? So it just keeps them going.
Keep a perpetual cycle.
At least for a couple.
They get like two cycles at least like that before they get too old where they don't want to build anymore, right?
I think last time, because I had cap brood that was hatching out along the time.
Okay.
Is that I went 3. I think I went 3 last time. And then one of the last things I did, because I didn't need that many queens, but I think I did 45 queens. And one of the last cells, I just took off the bar and left it in there for them as their queen, right? So when that queen hatched, they got her.
So you're saying you're getting 3 rounds before you need to rebuild it or something. So what's your cycle time? How many days you're leaving that graft bar in there?
I specifically used when I did it, obviously it was my first time. I was using the spreadsheet that James sent me, which is in the Facebook group there. Let me see if I can pull it up.
I mean, technically, if you were to graft them day-old larvae at 8 days in, they should be capped over, ready to go in an incubator. No later than 10 days, because they'd be at like 14 and a half days at that point.
Well, see, that's why I ask, because it's variable and it's kind of preference. You can pull those out of your starter as early as 24 hours after graft.
Yeah, and then put them into a finisher to at least let them get capped up.
And that's kind of what I'm asking. What kind of cycle are you using? Is it a 24-hour cycle, 48-hour? I usually want to leave mine 48, but depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll let them finish them, like you say.
So if you go into the Facebook group, No Life Beekeepers, and right up on the top, there's a file section. There's a grafting queen sheet that's in Excel. Let's see if it'll open. There it is. Open it up.
All right. I'll have to get that.
And this is the one that James made. So I just downloaded it again. I didn't really need to, but let's open it up. And if you change, like today, let's say I grafted today. Enable editing.
You're going to try to help pull them people out of the ditch.
Huh?
You're going to try to help pull people out.
Look, we have people in the ditch over here, South Carolina.
Oh.
Well, they're not going to cause any harm there.
Let me see. So today's one. Let me just change it up here. 21. 25. And now it's told me every day of what I need to do, right? So Friday the 17th, the queen lays the eggs. Saturday the 18th, skip day. Sunday, eggs hatch, pupa stage begins. So Monday, you make up your starter colony. 21st, graft the day-old larva. transfer grafting frame on the 22nd to cell finisher, and then check the grafts on the 24th to see which cells are starting to be drawn out. The 26th, the caps or the cells should be capped, and then leave it alone. Right? Don't touch them. And then wait till Thursday the 30th, make up queenless mating nukes. 31st, transfer. Now I don't do this. I take my cells and I'm moving them to the incubator.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing instead of putting them directly off
and
there.
then introducing a virgin.
Yes.
Yep.
And then, this tells you when they should be mating. Leave it undisturbed for 2 weeks. Check nukes for larvae. On the 23rd, 24th of February, is there larva in there? If not, requeen it. So, and then it should be good to go.
I learned something last summer on this idea that after a while, the nurse bees won't build cells as well. And I was actually out at you call them a commercial queen producer, not a Ray Oliveira's scale producer, but one of our Manitoba producers. And when they run their cell builders, he runs a starter finisher, so he finishes them right in the same colony. And when they get to the point where they're not, building as well anymore, and I think it's probably about 3 weeks, they put a bottom board right up from the ground up to the entrance, and they take every frame out of that hive and they shake it in the ground in front of that hive. And they shake them all on the ground, put the frames back in, and all the bees walk up that ramp and into the hive. And they said it just kind of resets the clock, and they go back to work again. It's the weirdest thing.
That's cool.
It's just that action. I don't know what they think has happened, but it convinces them to get back to work. That's kind of weird.
And that's the other thing when you got a starter finisher, right? You can literally put down a bottom board up to the front door of your hive, and if you need to recharge it with some nurse bees, you can basically pull any frame out of any colony and shake it there.
Right on there.
And they'll just walk up if they can't fly, and if they can fly, they're going back to their regular home there.
I like to keep watch it, when I'm going to graft, I'll pull the frames out and check to see what the frames look like, and I try to keep nice frames of sealed brood in there, and so that there's always a constant emergence of those nice young bees in that colony. And then after a while, again, after about 3 weeks, I'll want to hand pick those old bees out of that hive. And the way I do that is I'll just pick that up and I'll move it about 50 feet and put a nuke or something in that spot. So now my cell builder is sitting over there and it's only got young bees in it because the old ones have all flown back to the old spot. And then I can get a visual as to what my young bee population looks like. So that I can shake more in, I can get more sealed brood in it and whatnot.
That's super smart idea. Yeah, because anyone who's starting to forage, they will go back.
Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you only get the non-flying bees. Well, are going to remain in that builder. It's just an old bee extractor. It just pulls them all out.
Yeah.
They're
I
not
got
there anymore.
a question for my Demery people. Charlie,
Yeah.
are you adding an upper exit on your Demery? And the reason I say that is because I've had with queen excluders in the past year.
No, I do. Upper entrance, no.
And the reason I say that is because I've killed a ton of drones with the queen excluder, right? When you do the Demery and you move them up, and which isn't an issue if you don't care about making queens, but if you're trying to.
But I'm doing a rolling Demery where I'm tearing down that hive, pulling brood up out of the bottom, which is more work. Those drones will get out of there,
Now, is there a drawback to having an upper escape?
Yes.
What is it?
You get a virgin queen flying or
Oh, yeah.
flying back. she'll fly into that topper box because she'll smell it.
Okay, so what if you had a disc on it to where you could let them out for a day? Because by that time they should all fly back around and out, right? And then close it up with the disc.
Why worry about it?
Well, like I said, if you need
It's a
drones
drone.
and you need to mate, and I've had enough drones die in a queen excluder to where bees almost can't get back down through the queen excluder, right?
I've never had that problem.
Well, you know, you're not Bob. I always have the outlier issue. That's my job as the host, to have that issue. Even if I didn't have that issue, that's my issue.
I don't know. I mean, I never run upper entrances ever. You know, all that stuff. I've tried, you know, as far as like honey production, where you set the box back just back far enough that the bees can get in and all that stuff. And
Well, that's great if you don't have hive beetles, but that's a hive beetle entrance. That's a hive beetle highway.
Well, anyway, I found out that, you know, once the dirt hits, you better close them boxes up mighty fast because they're going to go robbing crazy. So I quit all that stuff. They quit all that. I quit all that goofy stuff. I do for me, it's all medium boxes. So 2 mediums on the bottom, which is equals to my single brood chamber management, queen excluder, a couple honey supers to start out with. And I put a third box up on top, which was a third brood box up on top. And I'm bringing up all the cat brood from the bottom up to the top box. And I'm letting it cycle out about every, I don't know, 10 days or so. It depends on how long it takes to get that brood hatched out. And then that's why I got my hive lifter. That's where I raise that box up, move it out of the way, get into that bottom box, cycle that brood around, you get rid of all your damn drones and all that. Now, if the drones are upstairs and you go up there to check, you know, they can go out then if you just
William says he only runs upper entrances when his equipment rots, and they just make one. I had it on a Lyson colony that I put that plastic entrance reducer on that comes with the Lyson polyhive.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it. They chewed away the poly so they could slide right under it, come in and out. They made their own
that entrance reducer thing. I went in the summertime, I just yank that off and put it in the pickup truck. They're wide open. And all.
An emery shim. What's an emery shim, Peter?
Yeah, that's just it's a shim. It's about, I don't know, maybe half inch or so. And it gives you a little upper entrance. What it really does is it creates a shit ton of burb comb up there. I got 2 or 3 of them up there. If what's his name wants to buy, I'll give them to you for $2 a piece. Get rid of them dumb things. That was another stupid bunch of crap.
Charlie's got a bunch of top bar hives he's selling cheap too.
Yeah, you want top bar hives? I got them too.
Never been used top bar hives.
Yeah, brand new.
Go back to my video when I went to his place. He's got like 50 of them things.
Yeah, some assembly required.
Some assembly required. Hell, I might have to do that. I might be up there getting a truckload, Charlie, to bring down here and set up. I had somebody tell me, you guys hear me talk about this fella that only calls me when he needs something, right? Literally.
Yeah.
Hey, I got this box of pollen patties, big box from Man Lake. Do you want them? I'll trade you some honey for them. I'm like, you have bees. Why do you need honey from me? Oh, well, I've been doing so much doing construction. There's no time for beekeeping. It's like, okay, so what's literally happening with your bees is what's going through my mind. Well, he wouldn't know anyway, right? So it's like, okay. But I told him I didn't need him. I didn't. I got a 50-pound bag of Mega Bee. So it's that to me, that, you know, I don't mind helping people. But once in a while, I understand if you need help with something. Well, call me and say, hey, Bob, how's things going? just hadn't heard from you in a while. I want to see how things are. You know, is your life still sucky? I don't know. You know, just find out. Not, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? Can you help me do this? No, I don't have time. You know. Yeah, be careful of those rainy day friends. I know it's terrible. I agree with that statement there, Gary. There are bee havers and beekeepers. I'm kind of like in between at this point, I think. I'm hoping I have bees to be a beekeeper. That's kind of where I'm at. So, look, you got Tom dipping out, 9:40. I saw him on somebody's stream the other night to like 11 o'clock at night. Was that on your stream, Charlie? Friday night? Somebody streamed to like 11 at night, dipping on us, Tom?
No, I don't know. No, I didn't go that late. I don't think. I don't remember now.
And there's Joey. Hey, Joey. How's the snow in your area? It's still snowing. That's what I got up for. My wife's like, look, we got great coverage. Yeah.
Hey, me again, Joey.
Friday or Saturday night, he said. You don't work, man. What are you worried about? Every day's a Friday or Saturday.
Wasn't it just like 3 or 4 weeks ago? Tom was complaining it looked like spring outside of his house, and dandelions are blooming and all that stuff. And now
Can't please him.
Now he's got snow. He cursed us all. It's still here, he says. There's stuffy.
Somehow that makes me feel good that I'm not just the only one.
Hey, it'll be 70 degrees here on Thursday, and that makes me worry.
Shut up, Todd.
No, I don't want my bees eating what
you don't want bees to feed?
I'm not bragging, really. I wish it was 40, 30, whatever.
Steve says it's 7 degrees where he's at.
Thursday, our high is 23 Fahrenheit.
23. That's what it is right now, right here. It says light snow.
Today it touched -3. Yeah.
And you're in New Jersey.
Yeah, the high today was 15 degrees. It's cold, man.
This is, I mean, it's been this cold recently, but we just haven't had the snow to go along with it. So,
yeah, it's all right. We got 8 or 9 inches the other day, so it's at least another insulation layer on top of the hives. Got to keep those entrances cleared out,
No, leave them closed up.
With the snow in front of them?
They're not coming out anyway.
Absolutely. Close them
Absolutely.
up. Mine are all
Usually
snowed over there. I went out there this afternoon. They're all covered up. You got a windbreak that don't let the cold air in.
Yeah.
They are porous, which lets the oxygen in, so they're not going to suffocate like some people have said. And they create enough heat. You can watch Ian or anybody else say, and they'll make that little igloo
Heat
area.
dome.
Well, it actually, it'll melt a little bit, and they go out there and get a drink of water if they need water, and leave them alone. Like Brad there said, Brad, what was it? The guys actually dump snow on top of the hives with the loader to insulate them.
Oh yeah,
like an igloo.
Yeah, cover it up.
Now, Mike, Brad's up in Manitoba, Canada. If you haven't figured all this out yet,
it's nice and cold up there.
Yeah, that's my backyard.
Yeah, he's right next door. He's right next door to the ice road truckers up there from the show.
Yeah, actually, yes, that's true.
He is.
They filmed that.
I'm saying that ain't no bullshit. That's where he's at.
He took me by there, matter of fact.
Yeah, they filmed that right down the road in town.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He trucks bees and honey across the lake out there or around the ocean.
Now you're talking.
Where the hell are
now he's stretching it a bit. Just a bit.
Oh yeah, the bees around here, if you can get them covered in snow, put them by a tree row or something where the drifts are going to cover them over.
Yeah,
that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
Great insulator, Mike.
Yeah, keeps the wind off them, keeps the sun off them.
That's why I got that carpet on mine there, Mike. That's all. It's not insulation. It's it's a wind block because it's from the
Yep.
ground up, and the
Nice.
wind blows from the back of those hives forward most of the time, and it helps immensely, and it's cheap. It's free. Get it from your local carpet installer for nothing.
Yeah.
They'll
usually toss it.
Huh?
They usually just toss it.
Well, you get it. I mean, they'll last. I use them and use that old carpet and put the carpet towards the hive, and then the backing is towards the weather, and they'll last. I've had some last 5 or 6 years.
Nice.
And all that. I mean, the older they get, the better they are because a little more flexible they are. That new stuff is real rigid, and it's hell of a bend around there. And that's the reason I also do the straps is it holds that carpet in place. And then I got it next to my barn. Those don't get anything because they got the barn for a wind block. And I'm fine.
Nice. You guys ever have any problems with bears?
Nah, we don't have no bears here.
We got the highest density, I think, in the United States of black bear in my area.
Wow.
Knock on wood, I haven't had problems. I run my fence pretty hot around my apiary, but my friend, she had a bear attack, and I'm like, look, you got to put a really big fence and bait it with bacon. She didn't get the fence up, but she ratchet strapped her hive, and she said the bear picked it up like a little picnic basket and walked away with it.
What do you run for a
Brad's
fencer,
gotten attacked by
Mike?
bears.
Yeah, I've had bear problems. What do you run for a fencer, Mike?
I'm running a solar charger, a 10 miler. It seems to work good. And what I'll do is I have like my inner and then like a little outer layer. And then I roll some bacon like once or twice a year on it. So anyone wants to come and take a taste of it, they get the full lightning right in their mouth,
Or what do you do? Get out there in the
summertime. The joule output on that is?
Huh?
It's the joules output is the defining factor on a fence controller.
Was it? I want to say it was like 0.25 or 0.3 joule.
Yeah.
Something like that. Enough to give them a whack.
I run 8.
8 joules. Nice.
He likes his bacon a little extra crispy.
Is that like a 25, 30 miler?
Oh, probably more like 100 miles. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to touch that one.
I splurged and bought a really nice tester for it, and I held the ground probe in my hand, and I held the tester. I took a picture of this last summer, and I held the tester about 4 inches from the fence.
You still
and it read 1,000 volts.
Oh man!
So I haven't had any bear problems with those.
What mine is.
And I was wearing shoes on the ground, and I was holding the ground probe in my hand. So I mean, it wasn't just that it was 4 inches from the fence.
Yep.
It was like it wasn't even very well grounded.
That's funny.
So there's a lot of power.
I think when we get off here, I'm going to take my huskies out in the snow.
They'll like that.
Oh, they'll love that.
So my wife's
frolic.
like, no, they'll get sick.
They'll frolic. They're huskies.
It's like that's their whole life's mission.
Huskies in South Carolina, I don't know.
Yeah, when we lived in Michigan, they loved it. Out in the backyard, they stayed in the house, but we'd let them out, right? So
yeah,
the snow. It's funny because they'll actually like kind of slide through it and rub all over it.
I know people have Siberian Huskies around, and neighbors are always calling the cops on them. Oh, they leave their dog outside and it's cold. It's like it's a Siberian Husky. He didn't want to be in the house.
That's it. They love it outside.
Yeah.
For sure. Bruce, I saw Bruce just post 10 minutes ago. It's still snowing down there. So it is everywhere down here. You guys let your bipolar winter stuff down to the wrong area.
Hey, it's not our weather. It's been
And we
much
didn't even
nicer
charge
here.
y'all a tariff for it.
It's been nice. It's been nicer here than there since Christmas. So that's your homegrown weather.
It's true.
That's not ours.
Let me see. They got a upper hive, no upper hive entrance chat going on. DC says, I'm not saying it's proven in a lab. I am saying trees have holes in them. Try doing a trap out. And that is true. You do a trap out, you'll find out how many entrances and exits they have for sure.
Yeah, they could have quite a few.
Yep.
And
Wow.
they're capable of making new ones.
Sure.
So it does happen. So only until we put them in those square boxes when they have issues.
Does the new grain holder fit better, Brad?
It's perfect. It's actually, I think it's done.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. So you'll see that this
Have you-
weekend.
Have you determined what you're going to use the prototype for?
No, I don't know. Maybe just a different size jar. I don't really have a different size jar, but there are different size jars available.
All
so
you
I
need
don't
is
know.
one, just a hair smaller.
I think just I don't
Well,
know.
4 of them a hair smaller, so it'll
Put
fit.
something in it, make a gift basket out of it, and put some candles in it or something.
Yeah, that'd
you
be
know.
good for something you're going to do a donation for
Sure.
like a
Yeah,
a gift basket
we do a
for a silent auction or
basket
something.
for a dinner at the church every I think it's every fall, and so maybe we can use it for that. Got to do something with it. There's some nice material in there, nice oak.
Did Russell bring down this?
The cold air from Michigan. Was it Michigan or Minnesota? I forgot where he.
Russell's in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah. That's right. He's by Minnesota Mike. He lives somewhere near Mike, I think.
I think Minnesota was seeing temps in like -30 this week.
No doubt.
Something crazy.
We're going to be right about 0 in the morning.
Yeah.
Bad thing is I can't see anything outside anymore. I used to have the street lamps that I pay for every month, but they don't work anymore. So I need the electric company to come out and fix them. But when that was there, I could go in my apiary at night and see, but it's been out since the last hurricane or whatever you want to call it came through. And used to be able to walk around my yard no problems, but now we got at night it's really dark outside.
Todd, how soon before your season starts?
What, who, me?
Yeah, you're the only Todd here.
Oh, I didn't hear Todd. I didn't hear Todd.
Sorry.
So I as a matter of fact, I looked at the calendar today, and I'm going to start sparking up hives by throwing patties on, and then I'm not going to do hive feeding itself, but I'll leave a tote of
syrup.
Sugar, yeah, some syrup out there for them to get at. It's just it's. That's why I was saying I'm scared that it's going to be 70 on Thursday. I think 67 or 68 on Friday. That's not right for January. So, but then looking at
that heat down from LA.
Yeah, but looking at the calendar, if I start now, I'll get them going probably by late March. And that's where I'm going to start making a builder, and so I want to juice them up now and get them going, because I think this year I have a feeling my spring is going to be early, and I think it's going to be about 3 weeks early from what I'm seeing right now. because the one sure sign for me around here is a weed called fiddleneck, and it doesn't start until February, like right around Valentine's Day, and I saw it last week, the beginnings of it. So it's running way way too far ahead of schedule. So I need to do something now.
So Ryan, their peer body, he's working the night with the electric company. He's a lineman. Fuses are blown in DC. Why is that? Because there's
Ice.
or new president.
Too many executive orders.
Too executive order.
Somebody's blown a fuse over that.
Y'all are going to get me demonetized.
Yeah, let's just leave it there, okay?
Yeah. I've been watching the last 5-10 minutes about this upper entrance conversation going on between Nancy and DC. All I got to say is this: if there's an upper entrance and the bees don't want it, they'll fill it with something more.
That's right.
More likely the propolis that's inside the hive already. So
That's right.
they open and close doors all the time.
Honey flow last year I opened up. It was because it was really, really hot here for a while at the beginning of the honey flow. So I propped my migratory cover up and so I left a little entrance. Most of them had, I don't know, maybe an inch or two, half an inch high or so. And I think the bees really appreciated that. I didn't see bees coming and going up in there, but there was always bees just inside there fanning. So I think they used it for ventilation, bringing the breeze up through the hive and drying the honey. And I got a really good yield this year. So who's to say? I did talk to a beekeeper here a couple summers ago, and he said that they have a ventilated top that they put on and it increases their yield. So maybe there's something to that.
You know what? Maybe it works for you, but it doesn't work for somebody else in Arizona or Oregon or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all local, right?
Yeah.
All local climates.
So what I've tried is I've taken nickels, right? Put a nickel on each corner of your box.
Yep.
And then put your top cover on top of that so any robbers can't get in there. And that somewhat reduces the moisture content a bit more.
Right.
A little bit faster, but it's really not marginal, It's like it's whatever.
You could do so, and that's a good point about robbers. You got to watch that. We don't have robbing problem here in the honey flow, but you got to watch it afterward. If you were to invest in propolis mats, you could put those on top and then leave whatever ventilation open you want, because bees can't get through those mats. And they kind of look like a queen excluder, but they're smaller slots. Or just some screen. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
Just like that, silence.
Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, just like that, it got quiet.
Another thing that works somewhere else, but I found out it doesn't work for me, are the foamies. So I took all my foamies out. It created more condensation in the early spring than what it was worth to me. And so I didn't use them last year. I pulled those in frames out after it got warm enough to start working boxes. And there was not one speck of mold on any of those combs on the outside, versus the last 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years that I was using them and having that condensation rain down on them. So, and they seem to be coming out fine out of winter without foamies anyway. But again, I live in Central California where it's not really, it snows here once every 10, 12 years. So.
I've been watching this year. I put insulation on the top of my hives, and with no upper ventilation or anything like that. and I have not seen any condensation problems yet. That was one of the things I wanted to see about with those clear inner covers that, like Brian down there in let's see, Memphis, I guess it is. You all right?
Yeah, I hit my funny bone, but it wasn't funny.
It's funny to everybody else. That's why they call it that.
Anyway, those they've only been on the hive 4 or 5 days, but with the insulation on top, those clear inner covers, and I didn't see any moisture on the board at all. So, I'm happy with the insulation and all that stuff. I hope it creates that heat dome like they state, keeps the bees warm. So,
still got 85 people, and it's 10 o'clock. And I started right at 8 o'clock. I'm getting better at this after 3 years, 4 years, whatever it's been now. After a long time. But at any rate, I think I'm going to shut down the live stream for this evening. I appreciate Steve. Thank you for the super chat. Obviously, it's hard to talk about swarm lure when it's snowing outside. But, I did download my tax paperwork from the credit card thing, and that's not exciting to see. But at any rate, who's next? Who's next up? Thursday night, we got horizontal bees, Ricky, right? And then Saturday, we got It's Me, Joey. That's what that would be my chat name, Joey. It's Me, Joey. That would be it.
Don't forget Friday, you got Sawmill Charlie.
And we got Friday Sawmill Charlie action.
His full name is Me Again, Joey.
Me Again, Joey. It's Me Again, Joey.
That's his full name.
And,
yeah, that's Saturday. That's Saturday night, Mike.
And I'm gonna go out and take my Huskies out, see if they enjoy the snow or not. I might even hook up a sled. No, I'm just kidding.
Who's up next tonight? Doug's next up tonight. Come on, Doug, do it live.
Yeah.
Doug gonna go live?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sunday we got Tim and Hannah. They went live yesterday, and Tim did a live this morning too. Yeah, so they're doing a few more lives. Nancy did a live before mine, so pretty busy.
Busy bees.
And this time of year, it's kind of like I'm starting to get over that threshold of being burnt out from last year to ready for this year to start. It's like, just ready to go. Let's get it going. I got to get these splits done so I can make some honey, so I can sell it, so I can get another tax bill. So, all that kind of stuff. At any rate, I appreciate everybody stopping by tonight, and we'll see you next Tuesday for sure. And appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Peace out. Later, dudes.
Hang on, Mike. Just stay right here.
Don't